Can you unbox a boat if it doesn't come in a box? Sure, why not? Okay, I sold my 16-foot V-bottom with a 25-horse Merc. It just wasn't suited for some of the lakes we fished. And I've come back and purchased this Tracker John boat. It's a 1542, 15 feet long. It'll have the 42-inch floor, which is your standard John boat's usually a 32. So it'll have a little bit wider floor, which should make for more stability. I've got a bow mount trolling motor for it, fish finder. We'll need to build a front deck, put a floor in, some other modifications. I'll start working on that. When we get that job done, we'll show you what we got. Well guys, there it is. Took me about 3 weeks for the modifications. Getting a cold in the middle didn't help matters any. Sick for a few days slowed me down. But the modifications are done. So let's take a few minutes. I'll go over everything with you, what I did, and show you what we got now. Okay, let's start in the middle of the boat. The floor. Basically what I did, the ribs across the center of the floor were 1 inch tall, so I picked up some 1-inch pink styrofoam insulation, cut strips of styrofoam to go in, then laid the plywood deck down with the carpet on top of that. I built 2 side compartments. These aren't real big, kind of narrow. Basically they're just long enough to get a couple fishing rods in. Down at this end there are 2 pieces of PVC pipe. And basically that's what you stick the rod tip down inside, and then right up in here the handle will sit. There's a little space underneath there. Yeah, a life jacket, fish basket, stuff like that can fit in there. There's the exact same thing on the other side. That'll also hold 2 rods. 2 of the main reasons I wanted these, one, I did want the rod storage, but secondly, all my power has to go from the back of the boat to the front, and I wanted to take it up the sides, not under the floor the way some places do. The front seat that was with the boat had a wet well, live well, whatever they call it. I worked around that. It's got a couple life jackets in it now. I will just use that for storage. The back seat, I covered that in carpet and then installed a plate to hold 1 seat, or if I'm by myself in the boat, then we should have no problem, just take that out. But either way, that will hold the back seat. So my battery is in the back of the boat, and I needed to run my power up to the front, and that's where we're going to concentrate, on the front of the boat now, because, well, let's face it, that's where everything's at, and that's the most important part. So let's get to that part next. Let's talk about the power, because that to me was most important. With the battery in the back, I've got a trolling motor, got a fish finder, and other electronics up front, so you've got to get the power from one to the other. In the boat I just sold, in that situation, that guy had fish finder, trolling motor, and electric anchor. He had 2 sets of wires from each one, all going under the floor to the back of the boat, along with the transducer for the fish finder. That gave him 7 wires. There's a nice neat little bundle. He had them all tied up, and it was really good. But my concern was, what happens when I want to change the fish finder? What happens when one goes bad? All the wiring is one thing. I did not want that. So what I did, I made a slight change. I checked on the trolling motor first. It takes 6-gauge wire, and it also took a 50 amp inline fuse. So I bought some 6-gauge wire. I also bought a 50 amp inline fuse. Actually, I took them to my mechanic. I had him put them together, heat shrink them, and everything else so they're good. So on that side of the boat, there are 2 6-gauge wires going from the back of the boat along the side compartment, inside the seat, and up onto the front deck to come up front. That brings my power here, so I only run 2 wires all the way up the front. All the other wires are just going to connect here. As far as the transducer is concerned, on this side of the boat, inside that storage compartment, I purchased a 10-foot piece of 1/2-inch PEX water line. Basically plastic water line, it's got a little flex to it. I ran that 1/2-inch piece, 10 feet long, down this side of the boat, ran a wire up there, attached a string, pulled the string down through, hooked on my transducer line, pulled the string and pulled the transducer line up. Now I have it here. Now, let's say I'm going to buy a new fish finder. Tie a string to the transducer line, pull her back through, tie the string to the new transducer line, pull it back up. It's all taken care of, and it's inside that 10-foot line. I can change that anytime I want. That was what was important to me. I want to make it easy to change anything again, whereas my old boat, all that was in that one cable. It was going to be hard to change. So the first thing we're going to want to get into is, how did I do the power? That's inside this compartment right here. And basically I've got double duty out of this compartment, because what I've also done is, with the latch and holds up, this also holds my fish finder. I've got my Garmin Striker 7 I did an unboxing on. That's the fish finder I'm using. Set it right in here. When I close the lid, it's down inside the compartment, out of the way, so that way it's protected from the elements and stuff like that. But inside here is where I'm going to have the power. That's what I'm going to show you next. I've got the fish finder off, out of the way, so you can see inside. Here's the way I set this up. If you go to your house, to your main breaker panel, you have all your breakers down the middle, and the neutral and ground wires all attach into what they call bus bars. That's what I have here. I purchased 2 small bus bars and just put them in with a pair of screws into the wood. Basically, right here on the end, there is my negative cable coming from my battery. And with the red on it here, you can see this is my positive cable coming from the battery. So once those 2 are in, this is now hot, and this is grounded. So here's my trolling motor, or excuse me, this is a cigarette lighter adapter for power. There's my trolling motor power, and there's my fish finder. And here's the negatives for all 3. Anytime I want to change anything, trolling motor, fish finder, anything, all I have to do is open this up, come in here, unloosen the screw, pull the wire out, I'm done. I don't have anything going to the back of the boat. Now, to protect those a bit, I went to the home improvement store. The blue boxes you normally see for electrical, this is kind of a shallow one with wings on it. I just cut the bottom edge off, and basically with a screw, it just sits right over the top. You screw it in, and that protects it and hides that. On the positive side, I made it red, so it's positive. I know that's the hot side. Again, 2 screws, just hold that in place. It's now protected, nothing's going to get it. So that's the way I did my electrical. I wanted to take time to show you because I think that's important. Most guys are running wires under the floor. They're running all their wires to the back. Instead, why not just run one set of wires from the back to the front and hook everything else up like this? Okay, got the fish finder. Everything stowed away, put back into place. That's got that. That leaves me 2 other compartments. Now, right now you notice there's 2 handles on it. I put the recess handles in, but today, because everything's so brand new, they are so tight. You got a little hard in the fingers to open them, so I ended up adding these real quick just to be able to get them open and closed easier. I'm thinking once they're used a lot, they'll loosen up, and then I can just take the strap off and I'll just have the recess. Basically, I have 2 compartments. Well, here, this will be easier for you to see. I designed them for the size that I wanted, and that is basically, I used the 370s. This will hold 6 370s in a row, along with 1 360 crossways on the end. So totally I can have 12 of the 370s and 2 of the 360s with all my tackle in it. I'm figuring that should get me by. I usually carried about 7 of those, so I'm figuring if I'm up to 10 or 12, I've increased my tackle. So that should give me everything I need here on these. Plus I can do just the lures, because I'll have my other storage compartments to hold fish baskets and a lot of other stuff. Lastly, let's get onto the trolling motor, and it's a Minn Kota power drive. But I want to show you something I did here, because in case you're looking to purchase a trolling motor right now, this is going to be kind of important for you. As I said, I ended up doing the Minn Kota power drive, and I was debating back and forth. I figured this is going to be the main power. Most of the lakes we go to are electric, which is why I got rid of the other boat. We didn't need the big motor. So I wanted to do the power drive, and I kept going back and forth between the 45-pound thrust and the 55. And I finally decided, I think I want to go with the 55. Let's go with a little more money, but I got plenty of power that way. And now you're probably looking at the motor, and you're seeing it says pontoon. And this is not a pontoon. So what's the deal with that? And that's the thing I really wanted to show you. I picked this up, my stuff, I picked it up at a Bass Pro Shop, but the prices are going to be pretty much the same everywhere you go. The Minn Kota Power Drive, 12 volt, 55 pound thrust, 48 inch shaft was $669. What I thought would be nice would be a quick disconnect. I got about 6 miles round trip of rough gravel roads. I thought if I could have a quick disconnect to take it off each time, it wouldn't be up here bouncing around so much in the front. So for me, it wasn't so much theft as it was the driving conditions. But you're looking at, I think, another 80 bucks for the quick disconnect. So I'm looking at about $750 for the 55 pound thrust and the quick disconnect. And that's when I looked through the book and I happened to notice pontoon special. It's 54 pounds thrust, 48 inch shaft. It comes with a quick disconnect, and it was only $649. I thought, that's a savings of 100 bucks. So I called Minn Kota and I said, what's the difference? And I was basically told nothing. This is just designed to promote this motor for pontoons. But 54 pounds thrust, 48 inch shaft versus 55 pounds thrust, 48 inch shaft, basically the same thing. Only here I get the quick disconnect. And with the quick disconnect, once you take the pin out the side, the whole thing slides back. I can set it down here. I can Velcro it down into place, and it's out of the way. And it's not bouncing around up front. So I want to make mention of that. If you're looking at a power drive, if you're thinking of that 55 pound thrust, take a look at that pontoon special. You can save yourself 100 bucks and basically have the same thing. Well, so guys, I guess that'll do it. There's my modifications. Started out with the plain Tracker 1542 with a couple seats. You're probably looking at it too and say, okay, how much weight did you add? I went with 5/8 plywood instead of half or 3/4, and a sheet of 5/8 plywood is 56 pounds. There is one sheet of plywood in here. This is 3/4 inch, this piece here. These small pieces here are 3/4 inch. So I have maybe, a third of a sheet of 3/4 inch in here. So that would be about another, say, 25 pounds. So I may have about 80 pounds worth of plywood. There's just 2x4s here. There's no 2x4s back there. Probably another 30 pounds. So, and then carpet. So there's probably maybe about 110 pounds I've added. So I guess Bob and I'll just have to make sure there's 2 of us fishing instead of 3 of us, because it's rated for 3 people and 775 pounds. So we won't have the big motor, but by the time you add the trolling motor, the seats and the batteries and everything else, we'll probably be getting close to that 700 pound mark when it's all said and done with 2 of us in the boat. So, but really that wasn't too bad. The weight isn't too bad in here. I don't think that's going to affect us at all. So anyway, there it is. There's the modifications. And all I'm waiting for now is a day when the wind's not blowing 50 miles an hour like it was the other day. And today it just happens to be not much wind, but I don't have time to take it out to the lake today. But I did have time to do this. I wanted to get it done because in a couple days it's supposed to snow again. So I'm not sure how soon we'll get a video of us out on the lake with it, but I'll guarantee you Bob and I are chomping at the bit to get out there. So thanks for sticking with me. Hope to see you again real soon.